Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Hoyen. I'm the founder and host of Fan to Fame. We're here today with an individual who is responsible for training several current NBA stars, such as Khem Birch of the Toronto Raptors, GrantRiller of the Charlotte Hornets, James Ennis of the Orlando Magic, and Casper Ware, who was a former NBA player and is taken overseas by storm. Please help me and welcome Henry Wu. How you doing, Henry?
Good, man. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, definitely. So Erick Green, mutual friends, great guy, a baller himself. I saw his story, an article about you through Sportsnet, and I read the whole thing. I was fascinated by it, man. I think being Asian definitely resonated. You don't really see many Asians really involved with the game, especially at your level like you are. But just seeing the folks that you're training and just your story and your background just really inspired me. So I really look forward to hearing your story, man. So I appreciate your time.
No, appreciate you having me on, man. I'm excited, man. Real excited.
So before we dive into like the training aspect of all the current stars that you're working with at the time, can you share a little bit about yourself and how the game of basketball was introduced to you?
So I'm Henry. I was born in Seoul, Korea. So like probably the biggest city in South Korea. And I was adopted out when I was 6 months old. My Chinese father and a white mom migrated over to Evanston, Illinois at 6 months old. And I've been kind of growing up here since. I got into basketball around like 5 years old. My dad kind of took me to the park down the street, put this little purple ball in my hand. And
it's always like that. It starts at the park.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's at the park. And that's kind of how I got into it. And he kind of was the main person that kind of showed me basketball. I remember growing up, I used to put on the little, he grew up in Hong Kong, but migrated to Chicago. So he used to put on like that's when VHS, I'm a little older. So that's when the VHS days were still in things. So you put in a little VHS of the Michael Jordan games, like 96, 97, 98. They recorded and I would watch it. And I was like, wow, like this is something pretty cool. So my dad kind of got me into it and, I thank him for sure.
Nah, that's dope. So you kind of took and ran with it, man, because high school, you played at IMG, which is a powerhouse.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, I'm buddies and interviewed Coach Chad Myers, who's one of the coaches down at IMG now. So it's a small circle how everything just kind of
small, man.
And you played with Jonathan Isaac while you're down there, but then you went on to play D3 college in Chicago. So can you describe your journey as a basketball player?
See, I started out, man, I was always the kid that was never the most athletic or the fastest or the biggest or the strongest, but I just was a hard worker. I think my dad really instilled that in me, just to go to the gym and always work hard. He never really was a basketball player, but he always taught me what hard work really was. So I was always that kid. Played in high school at Evanston from my local high school. Really didn't play a lot. I remember it was funny, like my senior year, I played 38 total minutes. So I thought like I was at a point where I was like, we all wanted to play in college. We all wanted to, live out a dream of playing professionally maybe. But like, I was like, man, like this might be it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give up. I'm going to give it one more try. And my parents took a financial leap of faith and they were like, okay, you can go to IMG and try it out. And luckily it worked out, man. Went down there and competed with some of the best players in the country. Jonathan Isaac, Aleem Ford, who just finished up his college career at Wisconsin. Dimitri Trice was one of the best Big Ten guards, and he also went to Wisconsin. KJ Smith, Kenny Smith's son.
Yeah.
So I got to really play against some top level talent every day, and played well, and ended up making their national team. And I was like, okay, I think I can play in college, and ended up having a bunch of Division III schools that were interested, and ended up going to one home. I wanted to make sure my biggest thing was have my family come watch me play. And that was good. My first year, I didn't play at all. And then my second year, I actually played a lot, averaged like 9.5 points a game. And I played pretty well, and I really wanted to see where it went. And the training thing kind of happened. And I was like, you know what? Probably not for me. So, yeah, it's crazy how that goes, man. I still love playing basketball. Probably end up going to play pickup somewhere tonight. But yeah, I still love playing though, for sure.
Nah, I hear you on that. I'm a big basketball fan, man. I definitely played growing up. Wasn't to your level, wasn't at Eric level or anything, but huge fan. And I want to get your thoughts on this, man. Being Asian, how did being Asian impact you positivity or negativity? Because when I think of basketball, in my experience, I remember guys who actually knew me, they're like, all right, Linz, he's not like, he's not no NBA player, college player, but he knows how to play. But when I go to like a random park, I'm usually like the last one picked up. Just because people look at me, they're like, all right, he's Asian, he probably doesn't know how to play. Did that ever play influence in you? And can you share your experience?
Man, all the time, man. I think being Asian in basketball, it's hard. I mean, there are not a lot of people where, like people look at you and they're like, oh yeah, why are you here? What are you doing here? Like kind of the same thing
Right.
you're talking about. Like people are like, who is this guy?
Right.
Like Asians kind of aren't, when you think of NBA players and think of people in the NBA, there's not really many, right? I remember it took until like Jeremy Lin really came on the stage in like 2012
Right.
before there was like a prominent, obviously Yao, but Yao was before my time, but
Right.
like a prominent like basketball player. I remember just going to AAU tournaments, people like, oh yeah, like, you play travel basketball, like, oh, I have number so-and-so. They'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
I have Jeremy Lin, like I have him.
Right.
And so it's kind of a crazy thing, man. Like it was hard for sure because I think people aren't going to give you the same opportunity as everyone else,
Mhm.
just by the way you look, right? And it's
Right.
sad to kind of say that, and it's kind of, but
Right.
it's just the world we live in. But I'm just glad I persevered through it. I worked extremely hard, and I probably had to go over a hurdle too that, looking back, I didn't know I had to.
Right.
But it was all worth it, man. Like it was all worth it, and I'm glad that I had to work for everything, and
Right.
nothing was handed to me, because I wouldn't ever be in the position I'm in now today without little trials and tribulations like that. And I'm proud of being Asian. Like I don't care what anyone has to say. Like I'm proud of being who I am and where I'm from, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Absolutely. And it's APOM, so shout out. It's it's end of the month, but I think a lot of folks, they
Yeah.
kind of, honestly, I didn't know anything about APOM until probably like 2 years ago. Asia
I
Pacific
didn't know about it
Heritage
till
Month.
this year. I didn't know about it till this year. So
Yeah. But I think it's dope, man. I think, it's a culture that throughout the world, especially basketball, has been a lot of influence. You see a lot of ball players going to China now, overseas,
yeah.
playing international. So, and that's why I'm so excited to talk to you, man. I think, when I think of APOM, it's about celebrating folks who are Asian descent, who's doing really well for himself. And for someone like you, man, at a young age, I have a few years above you, so I can say that. But like, I applaud you and commend you for it, man. Your inspiration, and like we talked about just now, basketball, Asians are very underrepresented and at all levels. So to see what you're doing, man, is awesome. So
I
again,
appreciate that, man. I appreciate that for sure.
yeah, definitely. I think a lot of that has to do too with parenting, right? I think for all parents, but especially Asian parents, they really emphasize education over athletics. Was that the
Yeah.
case for your family? It sounds like it wasn't too much, but was that ever like an issue at all?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the hardest thing was getting my parents to understand how much I really love basketball, right? Because I think, obviously when my dad didn't grow up in the US, you know what I mean?
Right.
And my mom, she wasn't ever into sports. So when people are not educated in sports, they go on the internet. And when you
Yeah.
look on the internet, it says the chance of you playing college basketball, if you do the numbers with the NCAA they give out, is 0.1% at any level, right? And
Right.
then you look at the chance of they're going from that to professional and just working in basketball, right? Especially being Asian, there's like a 0.0001%. And you kind of have to, explain to your family sometimes, like, this is what you want to do, because there are thousands, because obviously being a high, obviously I'm not, going on any other profession, but being a lawyer, there's probably a higher chance. Being a
Right.
doctor, there's probably a higher chance. Like there's school for that. There's an education, there's a pathway to, working in those professions. Like basketball, there is no pathway. Like that's why you see so many unique stories, because everyone has their own unique journey into basketball.
Right.
And so kind of having to explain to my parents at a young age, like I really love basketball. I remember having to do taekwondo and baseball and
Right.
soccer and chess club and Chinese club and all these different things, because my parents didn't want me to be like, one dimensional.
Right.
And it
Right.
got to the point where you kind of had to explain to them, like, hey, I give credit to my parents. They really, saw that I really love basketball, right? Like there's a different love when you're spending all day in the gym and all you're watching is basketball, and every video game you buy is basketball, and all you talk about is basketball. So I give them credit, man. But like, no, there was definitely some hurdles, especially when I was younger, like 14, 15,
Right.
16 years old, kind of trying to explain to them, because it's hard when they don't have that background. Like with my kids, it might be a little different because I understand, right? But when you have parents who don't grow up in that and are not from the US or not, educated in sports, they kind of go to, like I said, go to the internet. And
Right.
so,
They
yeah, that
don't
was a little bit
value
of a
it as
hurdle for
much,
sure.
right? It's not valued
Yeah,
as
for
much.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not because they don't believe in sports, but they kind of see sports as a tool, right? To
Right.
learn to work hard or learn to be a part of a team, or seeing it as a profession is kind of a totally different,
It's new.
thing,
It's new
especially,
to them. It's new to them.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I hear you on
100%.
that 100% because my mom was the same way, man. I remember growing up when I first started like buying like little basketball cards or playing like 2K and stuff. She's like, why are you
Yeah.
doing that all day? Like, do something else. But she was, as time went on, like, she's like, wow, like sports, there's a lot that comes out of it. Like a lot of emotion that goes into it. Like, I can tell that put that into what you do day to day about doing your homework, like your time management. So she really saw that. And now, honestly, she's giving me updates on what's going on in the playoffs and everything that's going on. And I'm over here all like, oh, dang, I didn't even know that. So like you said, it's all about exposure, man. So here you 100%. Transitioning to you training, this is like, again, this is the piece that really fascinated me, man, is that you're 21 years old at the time. You're probably in college or just got done with it. Never trained professional player before. You're breaking up tapes for Khem Birch for his rookie season. And then he comes to you with an offer saying, I want you to be my trainer and work with me.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction, man? And how did you kind of embrace it? Because I think a lot of people, when something like that comes, like at Monumental like that, they kind of get freaked out and kind of hold themselves back. So what kind of pushed you forward?
Like when he first told me, I thought he was joking. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, you're kidding. You know what I mean? Like, you're not serious, because something like that is really serious. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you don't just go and, because I think that just being around Erick, you know what I mean? That was kind of being Erick and Casper, like the first two guys that was really around that kind of surrounded me around, like what professional basketball is all about. Like it's a real business. People think like these guys just go out there and they play and make money, but like all the little stuff behind the scenes, like I got introduced to at such a young age, like 18, 19, 20, I really saw like, man, this is a business. So when someone asks you to take, like, training is extremely important, because that's the development piece.
Exactly.
And so I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, because it's a big responsibility. Like I kind of said, like just a big responsibility to take hold of someone's career and kind of be like a roadmap for them, right? You don't, you let them travel the map, but you kind of put the pathways, there for them to kind of to figure out what they want to do. So it was a hard decision, man, because, I really had dreams of playing overseas and or doing something on my own. But I think reason why I embrace it so much is because I think opportunities like that don't come around every day, right? I had to really ask him 2 or 3 times to make sure he was serious. And once he was, I was like, you know what, let's try it out. Because I told him, I was like, I don't want to be responsible for anything and be like, not work out. Like, especially being then, I wasn't ready for that. Like, I really wasn't, ready for everything. And he was like, don't worry about it. Like, kind of like I said in the article, like, whatever happens, if it doesn't work out, we kind of go our separate ways. And I was like, okay, I have nothing to lose, right? Like, I kind of looked at it like, I have nothing to lose, I have everything to gain.
Right.
So let's try it out, you know what I mean? And then luckily, and by the grace of God, everything's worked out great. So real thankful for Khem for giving me that opportunity.
Right. That's awesome, man. That's at the age, I remember I was 21, man. That'd be, I can't imagine someone came up to me like that. I'd be like, give me a shot, give me something. I need to cool down, but you definitely ran with it, man. And seeing the clientele that you even work with now, the folks, it's even extended out. What do you attribute that to? Like, what do you think has kind of kept you? Because a lot of people, it's about consistency, right? You can have done it like the first time, but you're now working with other players that you kind of go on.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
The relationship building. I think Erick was the main person, man. I give shout out Erick, man. Like, he really taught me the value of relationship building. And I think like people don't understand how important that is in this business. Like, as much as you can train the best player in the world and you can be the best trainer, but if you don't have that genuine relationship with the player, they may never believe not one thing you say. Right. And I think that for me being young, right, I think there's so many, like, basketball training now is getting out of hand. There are so many basketball trainers. Like, there are hundreds of thousands of trainers, I feel like now, all across the world. So like being young, I had to do something that was going to separate myself from the next trainer. Right. And I think for me, that was like the relationship building. Like, all these guys I can call, we can have a regular conversation about life. Right. That has nothing to do with basketball. Yep. And I think that's what kind of attributed all these, building clients. Because like when you add someone like a GrantRiller, who's we're both 23, we're both 24 now, we're the same age. It's like, am I really going to trust someone the same age as me, or Casper, who's way older than me, he's 30, about to be 31. Right. Like, am I going to trust someone 6, 7 years, younger than me? But I think when you build that relationship and you really show them you care about them and you believe in them, and what you're saying, like, is actually, you back it up with film, and you kind of come to them, professionally. Right. But at the same time with that, real relationship, I think that's really what attributed like growing all these clients and adding all these players.
100%. It's all about relationship building, man, and all aspects
Absolutely.
of life.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about, without, going into your ingredients, but like, what's a day in the life of working out with you? What's the day-to-day workout entail?
It depends where I'm at. So like, for example, I know next week I'm going to go out to Orlando, and it's kind of going to be, I got 2 guys there right now, Grant and Khem, and I'll be out there. And so we'll have a morning session. They'll both work out individually, usually in the morning. They'll do an individual workout kind of just based on what they're planning. Every player is gonna have their own plan. So like for Khem, we'll have 2 or 3 things that we want to get better at. Not really add. I feel like that he's at a point now where it's like we're not trying to add anything. He's 28 years old, right? So we're not really trying to add too much. It's more just about perfecting where he gets the ball. And then we'll do a skill workout based on that. And then kind of same thing with Grant. Like Grant will have his own specified workout of what he needs to get better at. And they'll do their individual for like an hour 15. So like in the morning, they'll each do it. It'll take about like 2.5 hours total. And then it'll be like a little break, do film, eat lunch, relax. And then we'll go back at night around like 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock, however their bodies are feeling, and they'll shoot together. So they'll do like a shooting session where it's just, catch and shoot, not really taxing on their body, and wake up the next morning and do it again.
Nah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, cool. Man.
Anyone who wants to be an NBA player, you got some inside scoop right now.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
What are the things you think you incorporated from your playing days to how you develop like your timeline, your training, and what are some things you learned throughout the way?
For my playing days, I would say like, man, that's tough because I don't really play anything like the guys. I think the biggest thing that I'd say that if I had to pinpoint one is like the floater. Like if people know that shot, it was a very difficult shot. But I was always a small guard and I always believed in it. I know a lot of coaches now, I see a bunch of things on Twitter. Oh, the floater this, the floater that. I'm a big component of the floater. Just if you want to go like into the nitty gritty. But I think the biggest thing is what I've taught both. I think I've tried to instill in all the players is the work ethic part. Absolutely. I think like the work ethic and the consistency part, like making sure that we're in there every day, 5 days a week and there's no days off, right? And a day off is not a day off. And I think that's the biggest thing that I have been trying to teach and make sure that's the kind of environment I want for a guy, all the guys I work with, Khem, Grant, James, anyone is a consistent, you're going to come here, we're going to get better today. Absolutely. And it's going to be a safe environment. You guys can come get better and have a bad day, have a good day. But I just want them to make sure that it's a safe environment, they can get better. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of players, the reason why they don't get better is the consistency part, right? Like they'll work out for 2 weeks and take a week off, then work out for 3 days. And especially when you're at this level, right? Like you can't do those kind of things. And I learned that at a really young age. And if, as like on a broader scale, I feel like that's the biggest thing that I've tried to teach them is like, this is how we're going to work and we're going to work this way. And they've embraced it. And I give them a lot of credit because they're the ones who have to come and work hard every day, right? I'm just rebounding or putting them through a drill, right? They're the ones actually having to go out there and actually work hard. So I'd say that for sure.
It's a partnership, man. You're undermining yourself, dude. You're a big part of it too.
I try not to give myself too much credit, man. Like I really feel like that basketball players make trainers, right? Like, and that's just the reality. It's the same thing the way players make coaches. Absolutely. I think coaches, we all play a part for sure, but it's up to the players to go out there and perform. And I give those guys the credit because, like I said, I can be the greatest trainer or the worst trainer in the world, but if they're the ones who have to go in there and put in the time, so I give them all the credit as much as I can.
No, I got you on that. I can see why all of them like you, man.
No, for sure.
It's all about being humble and just being realistic. I hear you on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What are some workouts or drills that you think a lot of folks as players or even other trainers kind of like undermine a little bit that they don't really focus on as much as they probably should?
I think the biggest thing I see too much of is cones and chairs. I see too much of cones and chairs.
You see that a lot nowadays.
A lot. Like everyone loves using a cone or a chair or a tennis ball or whatever other tools they want to use. And I think kind of my philosophy is like, if we're not shooting the exact shots you're shooting in the game, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like there's special situations like a warm up or a specific drill. We can implement a cone or a chair or whatever the case may be. I just see like too much of cones and chairs and people trying to do too many like gimmicks and that's just my philosophy, right? I think like for me, like I want to put these guys through the exact situation they're gonna be playing in the game. And I feel like that's the only way for them to get better. I feel like we can do as many shooting drills and cone drills and this and that as we want, but if we're not putting these guys in the exact scenario, like the exact one, like and that's where it's our job as a trainer, right? We have to watch the film, we have to know what's going on, we have to understand each player's strengths and weaknesses. And then when it's time to get on the court, we need to put them through a workout that's going to simulate what they do in the game. Absolutely. So they can get better. Right. And I think I don't see enough of that. And I see too much of, let's do a cone drill where you dribble through cones and make shots, which isn't a bad workout. I did that when I was younger. But I just feel like now, like my philosophy is just really based on what are we doing in the game, and it's our job. Like I think too many trainers want to just do a generic workout. Like every workout should be tailored to the specific player. Like you have to know the players you work with. Like I think that's so important. That's why the relationship part is everything. Like, and this is why this profession is hard. You know what I mean? Because if you really take it serious, you're going to sit there and you're going to be up 3-4 hours a night just watching film on one of the how many players you got.
Right.
And you're going to find out what they do well and what they don't do well. And that's our job.
Right.
And so I think that's the biggest thing I see too much from just even kids, right, who don't have trainers. Like they're just shooting. And it's like you'll get better, but you'll never maximize your potential or maximize what you need to be successful at in the game, right? Like you can be a great workout guy. I know 1,000 kids who are great workout kids, right? You can go to the gym and you can make 10, 15 shots in a row, no one guarding you, and you do this drill 100 times, you're gonna get good at the drill.
Right.
But how do we become good in the game?
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing that it's not enough of. And I really hope that there's more of going forward.
You're dropping a lot of nuggets of knowledge, man.
No, for sure.
Is there, a lot about basketball, man, not only as a player, as a trainer, you got to know the game. Where's that come from? Like, is there any role model as a player that you like watch growing up or even now or any coaches? Who do you influence that?
So really, like when I was younger, I was a big Kirk Heinrich guy. Like I was just my guy growing up. Yeah, Kirk Heinrich guy. But like as I got to build relationships, man, I watched a lot of Erick and a lot of Casper. Like those guys were my role models, like to watch play, growing up. And they taught me so much just on working out with them. Like before I was a trainer, like I was just trying to get better as a player. And I would go to them and we'd work out together and I'd do whatever drills they were doing. And I would pick their brain and I would be like, oh, what'd you see here and here? And then over time, right, you collect all this knowledge and you start to build your own idea, right? And that's what makes basketball great because we have so many guys, so many coaches, so many trainers, so many players, and there are 1,000 different opinions, right? And we are going to build our own. And so I just, just learning from picking the brain of so many great people like Erick, Casper, and those guys, and learning about the game and studying it, and you starting to kind of build your own, idea of how basketball should look and what your thoughts are in the game. So. I'd say those people for sure. I'm a big Nick Nurse guy. Shout out to Toronto, but that was even kind of before Khem even played for them. Big Nick Nurse guy. I think he's a generational coach. You're not going to find somebody like him. Like I got to be lucky enough to go travel with the Canadian national team in 2019, and when Khem was playing for him, and just I didn't even get to pick his brain, but like when you watch the games and you see the way he coaches and the way he treats his players and the way he looks at development and just everything, right? Like you start to really like, wow, like he's a special guy. Right. So I'd say currently probably Nick Nurse, and luckily Khem plays for him at the moment. But Nick Nurse is like a big, role model for me as far as like how to look at the game through a bigger lens of coaching and development and things like that.
Those are some good names, man.
Yeah, and for sure.
I'm assuming Kirk Heinrich was while he was with the Bulls. Is that when you're a big fan of him?
Yeah. Oh man, Kirk Heinrich was. Looking back at it now, man, the way he looked at the game was crazy. Like he was just the most solid basketball point guard you could ever find. Like he never really made too many mistakes. He could play with anybody and he made big shots. So shout out Captain Kirk, man. Like that was my role model, man. Yeah, that's my guy.
No, that's dope. So with the NBA season going on right now and the way you evaluate the games, who do you think is going to pull it off? Who's going to win the championship?
Man, it's gonna be tough to take down Brooklyn, man. Like they have too much. Like Brooklyn is really tough, and I think when you get to playoff basketball, you really watch. Like it's not too much. You can't really like. Everybody knows everyone else's plays. Right. Everyone knows everyone else's scouting report. Like playoff basketball now is like kind of when it gets down the stretch, who can make shots and who can create shots. Like it's not really about plays anymore. I think it's about who do you have the guys to make plays when it matters. Right. I think when you have a KD, a Kyrie, a James, and then you surround them with the Jeff Green, surround them with the Joe Harris, a Landry Shamet, it's tough. Like it's almost impossible to guard. And then they play defense at a solid enough level to where they can get enough stops to win games. So, I mean, I can't see anyone taking out Brooklyn. I think the West is interesting. I think it's hard to pinpoint one team that's going to get out of there.
It's a toss-up over there. It's a little bit toss-up over there, yeah.
But in the East, man, I can't see anyone in the NBA beating Brooklyn, man. They're just they're really tough.
I mean, I think for a lot of teams, but especially Brooklyn, that's like something you put together in a video game. Like that lineup.
No, man. Facts. They're tough. They're tough. I think the hardest thing is that their role players are so solid too, right? I think in the past, certain teams like you can get away with, you can probably beat them if you force their role players to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like a Joe Harris can make a big shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Blake Griffin is, he's a former All-Star. He's not a bum.
Exactly.
Like Jeff Green has played in multiple finals and multiple big games. Like they have enough role players like to where and it's hard, right? Like usually when you have like looking in the past, right, you have a LeBron, you have a Kyrie, a Kevin Love, like you can help off those guys, right? You can live with, let's say, a LeBron shooting a deep three to beat you, or you can help off an Iman Shumpert or something like that if you really wanted to. Like here, it's like, can you help off James Harden? Can you help off Kyrie? Like, it's not many guys you can really help off of.
Exactly.
And so like that's the hard part, right? Especially in the NBA, spacing is everything.
Yeah.
Like you can't really help off one or two or really any of their guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard, man. Like that's a hard, especially in all three of the guys.
Pick your poison.
Yeah, it's impossible, man. It's impossible.
No, I got you. No, I'm intrigued to see how everything plays out. I'm a DC fan, being from the area, so
yeah,
we'll see how things go, man. Too much, but at the same time, just gotta represent.
The Wizards have played well this year, man. I give the Wizards a lot of credit. They play well, man.
We'll see how things go.
For sure.
So, man, you've done a lot already in your young career, man. You had a stellar career in high school, playing IMG, played Division III basketball, training. You're doing coaching, director of basketball operations for AAU program. Like, what's the near-term goals and what's the future goals when it's all said and done for you?
I think right now when you're working with the players, like the short-term goal just has to be like putting them in the best position to be successful. I think, like I said, we pour our lives into helping others, right? Like that's what basketball training is. It's not about helping ourselves. It's about helping the players. I think too many trainers and I can only speak on what I see. I don't know every trainer personally, but I just feel like so many trainers want to post the next thing on Instagram, or they want to showcase themselves more than their players. Right. I think like the short-term goal has to be like, for example, like for Khem, it's like, seeing him get a really big contract this summer is going to make me cry. Because all it's about is, helping these guys, create generational wealth. Like Khem's contract this summer, hopefully will take care of him the rest of his life, where no matter, God forbid, something happens, he can take care of him and his family and his children the rest of his life. Right. And that's what's important, right? Like I know, like for example, like Grant, like I want to see him, he was on a 2-way contract this year. Like let's see him get hopefully he can get a standard deal with the team, right? Like that's kind of like the short-term stuff, right? Like what can we do to help the players I work with become successful? Like a Casper playing overseas, how can we make him make more money? Right? Like that's what it's about, right? And long term, I guess for me is I hope to work for a team one day. I think you can't train eventually forever, because I know Grant and James and Khem and Casper, they're all older, or they're getting older, and eventually they're going to stop playing basketball. And I don't, hopefully maybe I'll be lucky enough to add more clients. I'm not really looking into that. Like it's just more about helping the ones I have, but I really want to work for a team. Like it'd be cool one day. Like I was the kid who would go to the NBA games early and like try to get autographs and try to meet the players. And so to, hopefully one day work for a team and kind of step on the same courts that I got to watch my idols on, like as a coach or a player development coach or whatever it is, that'll be something special. So long-term wise, that's definitely what I want to do. But I think the long-term will come with being successful at the short term, right? Like, I think that's just how it goes. And, I just want to help my players get better and help them, reach whatever goals and aspirations they have. Like that's just the most important part of it. So that's definitely the short-term stuff for sure. Seeing these guys get paid and be successful on the court and reach whatever stepping stone is next in their career.
Absolutely. No, I think you got a good plan, man, and everything's a process. I think sometimes a lot of people, they kind of worry too much of the current moment, or sometimes they're so focused on what's going to happen in the future. You got to have some type of game plan in there, but at the same time, you got to kind of embrace the moment at the time, but know that you're taking a step each and every moment. And I have a good feeling, man, like based on everything you've accomplished, dude, you're going to get there. So don't forget about a small people one day. When I reach out to you,
sure.
Let's do another interview when you're the head coach of the Chicago Bulls or something. Forget about me. Can't forget about me.
No, for sure, man. No, I think it's important, like what you said, man, not to forget, the people who helped you get to where you need to be. I think, that's the one thing I give Eric. Eric taught me too, man. Eric taught me so much as being my brother, man, just about, making sure you don't forget the people when you make it to the next level, because those people were there for you when you were nobody, or you had nothing, or You were on your way up. And I feel like I haven't made it anywhere, right? I think all this, in the interviews and the articles are cool, but like I never really wanted to ever be the.
You gotta stay hungry.
No, for sure. Like I never was the guy that asked for it, right? I just wanted to make sure everything came naturally and make sure that I appreciate all the people that have helped me get here, all my family and all my friends and all the people have helped, because those are the people that matter, right? Those are the people that were there for when you had absolutely nothing or when you were at your lowest point.
Right.
Those are the people that matter. So shout out to all those people. They know who they are. But like you said, man, it's important to make sure, like I said, I'm always going to be the guy that you ever need an interview, just let me know, bro. Like it's whatever you need something, like, because that's the type that those are the people that make it in this world. The people who are the ones that are the most humble and the ones who are, appreciate everyone, because every person is a part of the journey. So whatever you need, man, let me know. Whatever you need, for sure. Whatever you need.
I appreciate you, bro. No, definitely. Likewise. To cap this off, man, had a great conversation with you, learning more about you and like a lot of inspiration that you have and aspiration moving forward. But any final advice to someone who wants to, become a trainer or kind of get involved in the NBA like yourself, and any final words to just cap it off?
Man, so your first part, I think the biggest thing is, like I said, the relationship building, man. Like reach out to people and don't be afraid to talk to people. Like I think it's important that like I've grown to know so many people in the industry just by being around it. And I think that's the only way to make it. Like basketball is one of the few sports, especially in the NBA, professional basketball, that I used to try to be the guy that was like, oh, how can I find the next, class that teaches me, or like the next, convention where all the people come together. Like that's not really, I think the biggest thing is that you have to really build the real genuine relationship with these people. Yeah. And eventually over time, like you're gonna need a little bit of luck. I mean, that's just the way it is. You need a little bit of luck.
A little bit of luck. Everything needs a bit of luck. Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is the relationship part. Like reach out to people. Don't be afraid. The reason why I met Erick is I reached out to him in a DM like 6 years ago. That's like, dope. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and like send emails and send, don't be afraid to be that guy, because if you don't build those relationships, you'll never make it. Because I think that's the biggest thing I said earlier in the podcast, just like the reason why I am where I am today is the relationship building.
Absolutely.
So any final words? Man, just thank you to you and to all the people. I just want to give a shout out to all the Asians in the world. I think it's important that, like I said, this the last couple of months have been hard, seeing what's been going on. And I think it's important that we appreciate, like I said, all the great Asian people and what they're doing and the different industries that they're doing them in. Right. I hope to see more in basketball, professional basketball going forward. Yeah. Because I think that we all deserve an opportunity, right? Like I think we're not different than any other people. Right. And we're just as unique and we're just as special and we have just as much to offer as the next person, regardless of race. And I really hope to see more Asian people in the industry, because it's important that we see more people like ourselves. Like you kind of said earlier, like I really hope that I can be an inspiration for the next person. They don't have to be Asian; it can be anyone. Exactly. Because it's important that they see someone like for me, from my community, from Evanston. I hope to inspire someone from Evanston to do what I'm doing. Right. They don't have to be Asian, but I think it's good when Asian people see someone who look like them, especially young Asian males or females who want to be in this industry or want to work in sports, that they have people where it's like, hey, he looks like me. He talks like me. He knows my struggle. Right. And I think if there's more people like that, it'd be great, because like I don't really know too many Asian people in the basketball industry. Like, I mean, there's not many. I don't know any person. There definitely are some, but I don't know any personally, like, or anyone who have reached out to me. Like, so I just hope that if anyone needs anything from me, they can reach out to me, so I can be the next person to help. Because I feel like if I can help someone and help the next generation, hopefully they can help the next generation. And soon on, and hopefully over the course of many, many years, I know nothing happens overnight. Like the course of many years, there can be a lot of Asians in the industry. There can be more Asian players and more Asian coaches and Asian trainers, or whatever the case may be, or whatever, because I feel like we all deserve an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that should be swept under the rug at all. Yep. So if I just say any final words, it's definitely that, man. Like I really hope we all get an opportunity, and if anyone needs anything, they